Deasy very early in my career in Kildare Local Enterprise Office, and it's been a pleasure not only to work with her, but to see her company Pestle and Mortar grow so much to become award-winning, National Enterprise Award-winning entrepreneur for Kildare, and indeed win it outright nationally, and now actually is a client of Enterprise Ireland. So good morning, Sonia, and thanks a million for joining us for coffee this morning.
Good morning, Jackie. Hi, everybody.
Well, some people in the audience today might know you, others might not. Pestle and Mortar, a world-renowned global skin product now. You had been working in Cutlery Road, grew out of that, employing 27 people in County Kildare, and I suppose have had record sales. So I suppose, can I just start by doing what I always do and delve back into who Sonia is and how life has been for COVID with you and your 5 kids, 5 very active kids that you have. So how has it been for you? And then we'll talk about the business.
I think for me and my family with COVID, it's, you know, I have 5 children. It's been challenging, like I think for every mother, and also with COVID, you see, especially with children within a home place, you also see that maybe I work with my husband, so you know so who, you know, who does most of the minding or who doesn't, or who cooks the dinners or who doesn't. So we're equal partners in our business. So I suppose a lot of households were probably going through those changes and those dilemmas. But I think we've all survived it. The kids are back in school. They're really happy to be back in school. We managed to keep our business open throughout the whole of March and the whole COVID crisis, and we pivoted, and I suppose that we got through it, and we're getting through it.
Okay, and I suppose the children, as you say, we were talking before we came on air, you know, about being a businesswoman, being a mother, and parenting, and trying to manage all of that in confined circumstances. But you were telling me how you know, one of the best things you did was encourage the children to go out, to use the curragh as their play yard.
We're lucky that we live just off the curragh, so the 5 of them could get on their bicycles, go for a cycle, play around there, or they're all members of our local athletic club. Put on your runners, go for a run. So I did encourage them to go outside, but I think that they're lucky that there's 5 of them, so they didn't suffer in that way that a lot of children suffered, where they missed their friends. Of course they missed them, but they're lucky in the other way that they had each other, and they had enough company.
Well, part of the growth of Pestle and Mortar involved an awful lot of air miles on your behalf.
Yeah.
So you've probably in the last 4 years been home more now than you would have been previously.
Absolutely. So I have never ever had so much time in my business in my life. Even in a portrait studio, we used to travel a lot because we educated professional photographers around the world. So our feet were never really on the ground in Ireland for too long. So I find now that even my home life, I have so much time with the children, and I have so much time to spend in my business and on my business. And it's been a godsend, really. When both myself and my husband were very much, when the government announced that things were closing, locking down in March, we had an idea what was coming, because my husband would have spent every 6 weeks, he would have been in China. So he knew from there. So he was coming home in January and February saying to me, we're going to be locked down. He was buying hazmat suits. They're in my office. And the employees were looking at him going, I think Porrick has lost his mind. because we'd never seen a mask in
Yes,
Ireland. People, we're not used to wearing masks, and here he
yes,
was with hazmat suits, one for everybody. So we knew a little bit that there was a good possibility that we were going to be locked down. So when the government announced the lockdown, we moved swiftly. So we used to run a portrait studio, and we ran that in the depths of the recession. We made a few mistakes there, whereby we would have kept employees for the sake of keeping them, to the detriment of our business, and I think for small business owners of not paying ourselves.
yeah.
Yeah, so we certainly, for us, when the government announced the lockdown, we had a huge, we had a number of people on the road, so sales reps visiting stores, and they could no longer do their job.
Yeah.
So there was a little bit of, we had to make a few quick, sharp decisions, which we made. We also, one of the biggest decisions we made was we decided that we were going to launch a new website. So from March, and we launched a new website 2 weeks ago. So
Fantastic.
So we have an in-house IT specialist. So we did it all in-house, all the photography, everything in-house. So we launched our new website 2 weeks ago. So we're really proud of that we could pull the team together and get them motivated enough to make sure that project went ahead and it happened. So as retail declined, our online store thrived.
Okay.
But our retail is coming back slowly.
Okay. And Sonia, did much of your sales depend on international flights? Did you depend on much on airport sales?
Not on airport. We were not in duty free. So a lot of our international sales are in America, in Germany, and in Dubai. So they were affected, yes. But what I think that the biggest effect for us will be for next year to discover new markets. It's really, really hard as a small brand in Ireland to decide whether or not you want to work with somebody and really sign over your brand unless you meet them. I find it really hard to do. It's just not the same over Zoom. I would need to go and see their operation, make sure what they're telling me is real, and meet them in person. So that's really hard. So that's where we might have a challenge for next year for the growth of our new business. But I think that what we've decided to do is focus on what we have and focus on growing what we have and being doing the best job that we can with that.
I'm encouraging an awful lot of businesses, and many of our guests this morning will be trying to grow their business, and for the first time online. What have you been doing to promote this new website?
Well, we already did have quite a strong online business. So I think that the photography and look and feel of your product is really important. So think of it as your shop front. If your website is live, that means your shop door is open. If you think that your product doesn't look well, then everybody thinks that on the website. So the photography is so important.
Okay, and that's a really good point to make, because I find so many of the applications that I have seen for the trading online voucher, so few of them actually have any photography costs involved in them. That all the money that's being used is going to the technical aspect, and very little to, as you say, to actually making the product look as good as it can, and indeed the script about the product, because I know you really believe in the story and telling the story and how that sells a product.
Absolutely. I mean, at the end of the day, we sell skincare. How do we make ourselves stand out from the millions of skincare brands there are in the world? It's by possibly being able to tell a better story than somebody else, and making the brand more realistic and relatable. So I am the founder of the brand, but I am also the face of the brand. So I do all of the press launches and all of the PR and publicity, but our story is what sets us apart. There is nothing else sets us apart. We may have the best products in the world, but people don't remember. They don't remember that, but they may remember, oh, that brand is owned by this lady who has 5 children, who comes from 100 years of medicine men and uses natural ingredients combined with science. They may remember that. And that's really, really important, is the story that you tell around your brand.
And for those that are looking in this morning that actually don't know where the Pestle and Mortar brand came from, maybe tell us a little bit about background, just your own heritage and the name and how it's connected to that heritage, which builds into that story of Pestle and Mortar.
So a pestle and mortar, it's an implement that you use to grind down medicines and herbs and spices. So my grandfather, he was the medicine man in India, and my uncle still practices in the same spot today. So natural healing goes back in my family for over 100 years, and that's where the name comes from. And all of our products, we use ingredients from nature combined with science in all of our products.
So yeah, and that's what you use and have been using, and very much were awarded for doing so, to sell, as you say, in a very crowded marketplace, a product.
Yeah,
that
you have to be able to stand out from the crowd, and if you're trying to create a brand, your brand is really, it's what's your story, what's the story behind the brand. If you're not trying to create a brand, then it's all based on price. Are you the cheapest? Can I get it cheaper anywhere else? So if you're trying to create a brand, it's all about the brand story.
And Sonia, previous to March, and where we've been in terms of business, your life and your diary would have been dictated by the demand for people to meet you from stores, the demand to be on a flight, the demand to be on QVC, on the TV, and so forth. What drives and dictates your day now, opposed to back then? Because, it was made for you in many, as you built the company and it got so successful, then your day was dictated by that success. What pushes the day now, and what shapes your day now?
I think for us, it's growing our brand with the markets that we are already in. So we are only, like, our brand, it's well known in Ireland, but it's only at a fraction of where it could be. A lot of the time as entrepreneurs, sometimes we think if we go after Russia, we may do really well, but there's no market like your homegrown market. Irish people will support Irish brands. So for me, I feel that if I can do the best job at selling our brand in Ireland, and I have that model absolutely fine-tuned, then there's no reason why I cannot do it in, say, our closest neighbor, which would be the UK. So I think a lot of the time we, as entrepreneurs, we kind of go, okay, let's, launch in Ireland and then go to Russia, then go here, then go there. And we forget about our homegrown market. And, most of our sales, our biggest market is Ireland. So, and we're nowhere near market saturation in Ireland.
Okay. And that's really, and so that's, the last few months have allowed you to concentrate even greater on that.
Yes.
Are people looking after their skin at the moment?
They are. Absolutely, they are. So I think there's a lot of businesses that have suffered due to COVID, like the hospitality industry. We all know those businesses, but skincare and wellness has completely blown up, really. So we are from a sales point of view, since COVID, our sales haven't been affected. We've never been busier than before. So we're growing, but that's due to that's due to a demand from people that they may have a little bit of extra money. They're not going on holidays, they're not going out to restaurants, they're not going to bars, and they're spending that little bit of extra money on themselves and on treating themselves. And now more so than ever, we're at home, working from home, so we can be makeup free, wear no foundation on our skin. And in order to do that, we want our skin to be the best version that it can be. So people are looking after their skin a lot more.
And in doing that, when you look at the costs, while you're trying to grow and concentrate on the business and the home market currently, and also then look at where possibly you can increase your export footprint, did you look at the costs of operations in business? Did that concern you early days? Did you start to look at where money was being spent previously in the business that you're now not spending and that you don't need to spend? What have you learned about your business model over the last few months?
Well, I am a firm believer that a firm believer that you do need to be outside of your business, and you do need to travel to see new things and get ideas. And I also believe if we have, you know, when you have a sales team, that they should be out, not in, once we can get out. So without seeing, you know, without seeing the world and seeing what's going on, we're not learning.
Yeah, and I think what you're reflecting on there is possibly walking into Macy's and seeing what skin brands are on the shelves, or understanding what competitors are doing, or understanding where people are buying and what are the buying trends. Yeah. And I think as entrepreneurs, it's one of the least explored areas in many people's businesses. And we've spoken about that, myself and Noel, with other friends on coffee mornings, whether it was Sean Gallagher or whether it was Gavin Duffy, that, you know, as entrepreneurs, we tend to make the product and spend very little time on the selling of it and the customer journey of it. Yes. Would you find that?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I can make the best product in the world, but if I don't know how to market and sell it, it's no good to me. So unless I can make sure that people know that it's the best product in the world, I have no hope at selling it. So for us, we are a skincare company, but we are probably more of a marketing company as well. Yeah. So you have to be able to, you have to know how to sell your product.
Yeah, and I think that comes down, even on your backdrop today, you put considerable thought into it. And I think you're one entrepreneur throughout my career that I've seen that actually is constantly selling the brand.
And if you have a brand, yeah, you have to constantly sell it. And you're right, Jackie. That's, if I show myself in a setting that is not conducive to my brand, then I'm harming my brand. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what I even notice, even if you look at the amount of entrepreneurs that join us for coffee, they tend not to display any product belong to them, any backdrop belong to them. And perhaps we're not courageous and brave enough to be putting it out there. Like all of those great people that have joined us this morning are all running companies. But unless they verbalize that, you wouldn't know. So what would you suggest to people in a world where we're working from home, working remotely, working in the offices, where engagement has been limited to Zoom or Skype or meetings? What would you say to people about branding themselves or their business?
I think I'm married to a photographer, so my backdrop, the backdrop is always going to look nice. So I think that it's really important when you do present yourself that if you do have a brand, that you're showcasing the brand. the way you would like it to be showcased. So there's no point in doing a Zoom call with a potential retailer or stockist and trying to explain to them that, you know, you care about your brand and you want it to look like X, Y, or Z, if in your own background it's not reflective of that, because they won't take you seriously.
Yeah, and you know, it just strikes me, if we get nothing else out of this morning's coffee morning, it's that everybody present might actually think, in a world where showing their product or explaining their service is so limited, is there a way that they can use every opportunity online to do that? And whether or not they contact their printer to get a new pull-up banner to put behind them, whether they take a photograph of their product so that they can show it on shelves, maybe virtually like you do. But you know, if I was a retailer this morning and this was a Zoom call, you know, I'm looking at your product and I'm visualizing it in my shop. And I think that's what you're trying to give me, the indication that this is what Pestle and Mortar could look like on the shelves of any store. Yeah.
Correct. I think that when we're public facing, even through Zoom is the new, you know, is the new way to meet people. We have to put our best foot forward, and we have to represent our brand the way we feel that it should be. So, and if the meeting that you're having with that person, if you're not showcasing that, then how do you expect them to understand what your brand is?
Yeah, and I've seen some people lately, you know, even getting the polo shirts with their little logo on them, which is effective in itself. Yeah. But using every opportunity to remind people what they're doing. I'm not quite sure. Did you, before you did the transfer to Enterprise Ireland, Sonia, did you get a trading online voucher from us for your first website?
A trading online voucher? We didn't.
No,
we got an employment grant.
Yeah, there's a grant. The grant has been extended today for clients of the local enterprise office. Anyone under 10 in any business had since March been getting 90% funding, up to $2,500 for their website development. And I'm just thinking about marketing and photography, as you're saying. But today we got an announcement that was closed on the 30th of September, but we got an announcement today, possibly in line with budget day tomorrow, that's now 90% is extended to all businesses. So there's never been a cheaper way to get support to develop your brand or to develop your online presence. What 2 tips would you give as an entrepreneur to anyone spending money to bring their brand online or increase their sales online?
Online photography. How does your product look? If you look at your own website and think, oh, the products don't look great, then everyone else thinks that. They will think worse. So photography, so you're trying to sell your product, so your product has to look the best that it can look. Also live chat, which is where there's somebody that can answer questions live on your website. So we did launch a new website 2 weeks ago, and we are implementing live chat in the next phase of the website. So because if you're starting a business or you're a business owner now, you have to have an online store. You cannot, it doesn't matter what type of business it is, you cannot have a business in today's world unless you have an online store. You have to have one.
Yeah, and I suppose with the photography, we've already discussed it, but you'd also be a great advocate of the script, of what it says and how you're telling that message. Good content writing, and there are great content writers out there that can help you with that. It's not easy for us all to be able to describe our product in the best way. In fact, possibly we're often not the best person to be able to give the final edit on what that is, because we often are so familiar with our product or service, we presume everybody else is, and maybe not the best person to sell it.
Absolutely. So it's a good idea to get a copywriter to look over your brand messaging and your story, because sometimes you might have missed a few things in your brand story, and they may say, well, that's, that really is your unique selling point, and you forgot that part about yourself, because sometimes we don't see those things about ourselves.
Yeah. So, and again, just to remind those that are listening that voucher is going to be available again from tomorrow, and those that got it previously can get a second, 2 maximum, but the 90% funding. And I suppose we don't have an end date, but I imagine that it will go until the end of the fund goes, which I imagine would be the end of November. So it's going to be available. I suppose, tell me what you're going to do for the next 4 months. Before I open it up to questions, Sonia, what does the next 4 months look at for Deasy's as a very whole unit? Because I think that's first and foremost where your heart lies. The business is second. So for the Deasy family and for Pestle and Mortar, what does the next 4 months? Everybody, you said earlier, I can't believe, it's Christmas is so close. I love Christmas. And Christmas will not be cancelled in my house anyway, regardless of restrictions. So for the Deasys, what does that look like for 4 months?
The thing is the kids think now Christmas is going to be cancelled because Halloween is cancelled. According to them, there's no trick-or-treating. So I suppose it's just to keep them positive, and we can do other things if Halloween is cancelled. You can't trick or treat. Christmas is a big thing because they have both sets of their grandparents still alive. Normally we would see both sets, so hopefully we can get to do that again. I keep saying to them, exams are not that important. Who knows? I mean, do your work. Who knows? Like, there's alternative MBAs you can do now, like Seth Godin's alternative MBA, which I would never have looked at before. Traditional education is, I don't know, it's a new world that they are going to grow up in, for sure. So when they grow up in a new world, then there's new opportunity, there's new ways to study, there's new courses. So, for me, as their mother, I will keep my mind open. I am really into education and traditional education, but, I have to keep my mind open. So there's always alternatives. And then for the business, we're getting ready for Christmas and Black Friday. We've launched phase 1 of our website, and we've got 4 phases. So phase 2 is going to start. We're starting to work on phase 2 this week. So I suppose for us, it's to get a really humming website.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, look, Sonia, thank you. I can't wait to meet you again in person. I can't wait to give you a hug again. I think that's what we're all missing too. I'm delighted to see you so well and happy, and that the business is healthy, and indeed your family is also healthy, and particularly your parents. So thank you. I know that Noel, you have some questions coming from the floor.
Certainly have, and I think everybody is marveling at Sonia's backdrop, which you can see the photography background where everything is perfectly in the law of thirds. You've got Pestle and Mortar over my top right hand corner, and got the products and everything. And I think, Jackie, you picked up on that it's sometimes a missed opportunity, but we have to shout out, and I have to spotlight our video. Susan Keogh is working from a beach this morning, so all helping to recruit professionals, so that's help me recruit is the business, Susan, isn't it? Absolutely. So week 2 can work from a beach, which is great. So well done on that one. But actually, the storytelling as well. We have Leona McDade is here, and I saw her nodding all the time, but telling the stories. And we'll highlight your website in a second, Leona, which is whathappensnext.ie. Yeah, and it is about content writing. But I'm going to go straight to the questions. So Deirdre O'Keefe is here, and she said to a very early comment that you said, Sonia, about being a mum and a parent. I can relate to Sonia, as both myself and my husband work together, and we have 4 children under 8. So he took it like a champ and stepped up to the child minding and the parenting, and we managed to keep the business open throughout. It was hard work, but we made it through intact. And she follows up with a question. Sonia, what was the most effective way of marketing your product online to reach a wide audience?
Okay. Of marketing our product online to reach a wider audience. So we recently started it's the first time that we've ever paid influencers. So we launched a new product last week called Glow Drops. And we put a budget in place to pay influencers, and we didn't pay the really high priced ones. So we kind of went after the more micro influencers. Sometimes you feel that, oh, if I pay, thousands, I'm going to get the sales. Or if they've thousands of followers. But I think in today's world, people do they do trust the micro influencers more than the bigger influencers. So I feel that for us, doing that campaign with our newest launch was one of the best things that we did to sell our product and reach wider audiences. And we didn't spend a fortune.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's super. And it is about marketing and content. As you said, we sell product, but we're nearly a marketing company. And you talk about selling your story. So Leona in the chat has said storytelling is essential and it's a core part of what we do at What Happens Next. If anyone is seeking this out, please get in touch. So we'll give you a quick shout out there, Leona. If anyone asks a question this morning, we're delighted to showcase you. So copywriting is really important, which segues beautiful into our localenterprise.ie/Kildare website. We always say keep an eye on it. It's very busy. It's updated. Aoife and the team are constantly updating nearly on an hourly basis. But there is a new program that's launching on the 21st. It is content creation and copywriting. And there's a very small nominal fee. It's only €30. And that will book out fairly quickly. So if you want to know what Leona does for her clients and what she might be able to do for you, that might be a nice little introductory course. While I have the screen shared, Sonia is going to have a very busy week this week because National Women's Enterprise Day, and you can actually see there's, look, Sonia there, look, just sitting up above the N in #NWED. There are still places available. There are over 2,000 people booked on National Women's Enterprise Day. It is this Wednesday and it is a full day where Sonia is speaking at it. Myself I'm the only guy actually speaking at it. Feeling very honored about that. So this is this Wednesday. So have a quick look at that. And we can see there's plenty of speakers from all walks of business life. And it's a fantastic event to turn up to. So I'll bounce back to the questions there as well. Susan Keogh. Susan, thanks for joining us this morning. Given Sonia's comment regarding developing new businesses being so difficult on Zoom, does Sonia recommend that we concentrate for the next 6 months on growing our existing client base instead? Really good question.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
So as you said, you spend money looking for new clients. That's part of marketing. But sometimes we forget we've got existing clients that are a very cost-effective alternative. They're there already. We get them to buy again. How do you do that, Sonia?
To look after your existing clients? Well, you give them more one-on-one attention. That's what we're doing here. So we just hold their hands a bit more. We stay in touch with them every week. We really hold their hands, see do they need anything, and let them know that we are there for them. I think with new clients, it's really difficult to, you can make connections over Zoom, but it's just not the same face to face. I wouldn't trust anybody with my business signing it over unless I met them. Let's be honest. And then also, how do you service that customer? How are you going to actually service that customer via Zoom, or unless it's a purely online retailer? But in physical stores, I don't know the answer, but definitely we are focusing more on what we already have and on the relationships that we've already built.
No, that's super. So I'm going to give a quick shout out. I think this, Jackie, this is a new thing to do. If someone asks a question, we give them a spotlight. So Saoirse is here from perfectirishtrip.com, and she has a lovely comment here. Hello, Saoirse. Good to see you. And Saoirse said, not a question, but just a comment for Sonia. Hi, Sonia. Just wanted to say that I've been a fan of Pestle and Mortar for over 2 years. I use the serum daily and find it a good send for my dry skin. I also just want to say that I gifted the serum to my best friend who has recently completed chemo, and her skin has turned so dry as a result. So since using the serum for the last 2 months, she has noticed a huge difference and has gained a lot of skin confidence back. Thank you for creating such a great product, and we were happy to support such an amazing cruelty-free vegan Irish company. Sonia, you just have a brand new testimonial for your website there. So well done, Saoirse, and thank you for doing that. Something tells me you might get a nice little testimonial from Sonia in return for a Perfect Irish Trip. Deirdre has popped into the chat there. Great advice. I'll get cracking on my backdrop. At the very least, it displays my business name. Leona McDade, sorry, Leona. Content. I'm really enjoying the insights of a co-founder and content creator who has used the power of storytelling to build a hugely successful brand. Such an engaging speaker. Yeah, she's getting in practice for Wednesday, Leona. We're on the main stage and we'll have a bit of fun with it. Jackie has actually asked me there, are there any space available for the event this Wednesday? The website shows that it's booked out. That might open up again, Jackie. I'll follow that up for you, and thanks for the message, but I'm sure there'll be a space for Kildare people. Jackie can organise anything, you know, so we'll make sure that's done today.
Absolutely.
And Jackie's camera has given up the ghost, but can hear all the great contribution. So if there's nothing else, ring, email all your clients just to say hello and ask about their well-being. So Jackie, I think that's all the questions. I'll pass over to you to close out the session.
Yeah, thanks very much, Nolan. Apologies, my webcam has just given up. But anyway, I'll have a new one for next week. But two great takeaways today. Give some thought to what your backdrop says about you. And if you're online, are you selling? You know, as Pestle and Mortar is, even over a general conversation, is there a subtle selling point for your product or service behind you? And I do firmly believe, guys, that I can't overestimate what giving someone an email or a phone call means to them at this moment, just to say how you're doing. And if you haven't been in contact with your clients because they're not in a position to buy from you, you should simply be just saying, look, I'm touching base. We haven't spoken in a while. I hope you and your family are doing okay. And to keep those friendships going, those relationships going, because we will move out of this scenario. We will move out of it and we will get back to a new norm. But if you've left friends, business acquaintances out in the cold, it will be really difficult to reignite those when you need them again. So I would be cultivating, culturing friendships, relationships in business, regardless of anybody selling. Selling will happen if somebody needs your product or service. So that's what I would leave you with. I'd also like to be expressing my firm gratitude to Sonia Deasy, not only for joining me this morning, but being, you know, just an inspiration to so many business people and indeed women in business over the last number of years in Kildare as we celebrate International Women's Day. I too use Pestle and Mortar. I love it. A fabulous, fabulous product. Please advocate, please shop local. Again, Noel, shout out for Shop County Kildare. I think we all have a duty of care this Christmas when we mention Christmas. If you're buying, buy local. I know there's a raft of items on Amazon, on eBay. We see our children looking at it every day. But if you want to look after your children's future, the best way you can do is ensure that they continue their excitement about education, but you also support and shop local, and also to ensure there's a community there for them, and those jobs that they pick up in the summer, or indeed when they finish college, that they've a place to come home to. I just can't advocate enough what buying local means, and we all have a part to play in that. Okay, so thank you very much, Sonia. Thank you, Noel, and thank you to everybody for joining us again this morning.
Thank you, Jackie. And I might just take segue onto the bottom of that. If we are going to contact someone to see how they are, what a lovely thing to add on is maybe a small little gift or a voucher for either something in County Kildare or Sonia, Pestle and Mortar. Congratulations on the new website. It looks fantastic, and looking forward to see the live chat as well on it. So thank you, everyone, and we will see you next week.